What's up, folks? I'm Private Hudson, and this is She Will Punish Them. This is an adult action RPG, so the only one who's going to be doing the punishing here is Jesus, and he'll be punishing you for playing this game. This has been out on Steam in early access since April 2020, and the quickest way to describe it is to imagine that you're playing Diablo from a third-person perspective as a party of three naked sexy women, with a combat style and enemy design from Dark Souls. Now, I normally don't play adult games. Except for Honey Pop, they're almost universally low-quality garbage. Subverse is trying to change that by creating a big-budget adult game with actual gameplay and not just sex scenes, but even that looks pretty bad so far. She Will Punish Them, on the other hand, has very positive reviews on Steam, of which there are over 5,000 of at this point, and most of those reviews actually talk about the gameplay and how fun it is. Also, I bought this from the Humble store, not from Steam. While I understand that the Steam platform is willing to sell any hot garbage, I'd imagine that the Humble store is a bit more selective with what it offers on their marketplace, even though I know this is a Steam game, so it's a Steam key anyway, but not every game that's on Steam is also offered on Humble. Anyway, also a fraction of the $8 that I spent on it went to charity, so hopefully Jesus will forgive me. So let's talk about the actual game now. I have to say that the first few hours that I spent with it were surprisingly enjoyable. First thing when you start a new game is create your character, and man, this is the most in-depth character creation that I've ever seen in a video game, at least in the sense of physical customization. You have a bunch of initial presets and sliders that you can use to modify the character's initial appearance. From that point, you can manually adjust the nose, chin, eyes, breast size, nipple size, butt size, lipstick, eyeshadow, eyeliner, hand and toenail polish, wings, horns, and so on. And the character model looks amazing. It's extremely high quality. If there's anything that developers of other games should take note of, She Will Punish Them, it is this character creator. Once you've done creating your succubus, you put in your attribute and skill points, and this is pretty involved from what most people will just brush off as another adult game. Although, except for magic spells, all of the skills here are passive. Each time you level up, you gain 1 attribute point and 2 skill points. For attributes, you have Vitality, Strength, Power, which is magic, and Agility, which is stamina and attack speed. Each weapon type has its own mastery. The combat skills are where you get stun resistance, health regeneration, more stamina, and finally there's the other tree, which has stuff like increased experience gain, increased gold drops, better loot drops, an allied combat aura, and so forth. You start off with one other succubus and end up rescuing another, so you can specialize each one. Again, not something I'd expect from just another adult game. Keep in mind, there is no respec option yet, but it's still in early access. After that, you are loaded into your castle. It consists of a few rooms. One has a wardrobe closet where you can try on and purchase lingerie. Another has a bed where you can lay down and pose, and this stuff I'll get to later. And another has the game's 4 merchants. Your typical stuff really, a blacksmith that sells weapons, an armorer who sells armor, a maid that sells miscellaneous items like potions, keys, experience scrolls, and a smuggler who sells high-end, rare, expensive gear. There are 2 currencies, gold and crystals. Gold is used for equipment. Crystals are used to unlock the other rooms of the castle, purchase furniture, and lingerie, which are all cosmetic only. Once you're done messing around, go to the portal to access the world map where you can select your missions. Sadly, there's no story yet and no dialogue with any of your companions. There are 2 types of missions. You have horde missions, which are randomly generated on the map and consist of spawning an X amount of monsters that are at level Y, and you have to kill them all on an empty, barren field. The reward for clearing these is gold and crystals, but These missions are boring and pointless. The game's tooltip suggests that the territories that you conquer will pay you weekly tribute, but might also get invaded by enemy forces, but none of this has been implemented yet. The main missions are what they call checkpoints, and I'm not sure why they call them that instead of calling them dungeons, which is what they actually are. These are preset maps where you go around killing mobs, getting loot, finally getting to the boss who guards a gold chest that has even more loot. Completing these gets you gold, crystals, and random pieces of lingerie. Already the rewards are better than the horde missions. The combat is basic but fun. Left click attacks, right click blocks, middle click does a strong attack, and spacebar rolls. All these use stamina, so that is something you need to watch out for. Initially, the game is challenging. I definitely recommend putting in a point or two into the regenerating health skill because there is no innate regeneration. If you don't put any points into that, you'll need to pray to RNGesus for enemies to drop potions. Be sure to give your companions some potions as well, as they do use them automatically when they need to, which is definitely good. Once you gain some levels and unlock your other companion, the game does get easier, but only if you're playing it the optimal way. Bows? Hard to find, low damage, pretty much useless. If you've maxed the skill out, restart your game. Magic? Never used it, so I don't know. Daggers and swords are pretty good early on, but aren't very good against armored enemies, and almost all the enemies in the later dungeons are armored. Axes and maces, on the other hand, are effective against armored enemies, while suffering no penalties when fighting unarmored ones. So I maxed out maces on my character, swords on another, and axes for the last one. I put in 5.5 hours into the game, and I didn't die once. And 5.5 hours is pretty much all the content that this game has right now. Now let's get to the not so good stuff. Scaling is non-existent. You would think that higher level dungeons, which have higher level mobs, would drop more gold, better loot, and give more character experience, right? Well, here they don't. You need to max out the fast learning skill on all of your characters to keep up with the dungeon levels unless you really want to keep replaying the previous ones over and over again. And gold drops are abysmal unless you put points into the increased gold drop skill, but even then, the gold auto pickup doesn't even work half the time and it just gets left on the ground. For equipment, you have shoes, leg armor, chest armor, bracers, and helmets. There's a slot for rings and amulets, but those don't exist yet. And when it comes to loot, you end up picking up a bunch of crap, which may even have the legendary label on it, but these have no stats, you can't equip them, all you can do is sell them. I maxed out the skill for better loot drops, which may have been a mistake, as all my characters' inventories get full after clearing out the first few rooms of a dungeon, and it lies. It doesn't drop better loot, it just drops more loot, and all of it is trash. She Will Punish Them doesn't even color code their drops properly. Red, green, blue, purple, none of this crap means anything. I get red items that are legendary, I get green items that are legendary. But when I check their stats, I find out they're all complete and utter junk. Most of my upgrades came from the shopkeepers instead of farming the dungeons, which is not how an action RPG is supposed to work. Perhaps maxing out the skill where the items you sell increase in price as opposed to more items dropping in general would have been the better option. You can't portal back to town to sell and come back, and I got tired of having to pause in the middle of the dungeon to throw out garbage that I picked up in hopes of picking up an actual good item, but just picking up more garbage instead. Also, why on earth is there no compare button? Why can't I hold down Alt or Control while hovering over an item to compare it to what I currently have equipped? This is like the most basic thing that you'd expect from a game in this genre. The auto-targeting is broken. Sometimes when I want to hit a barrel, my character does a 360 and attacks the enemies that are behind her instead. And this is the type of game that needs to be played with a controller, and while it does support it partially, from my experience, it is significantly worse than mouse and keyboard. Finally, there are the bugs, and here's a bit where I walked out of the map, the in-game map, and I could have walked further and possibly died. That's why I didn't proceed, because if you die, you lose all your equipment. And since the boss was dead, thankfully, I just ended the run. Here's another where the dungeon boss gets stuck. Here's a good one. In this level, one of my companions got stuck behind a chest, so I was handicapped coming into the fight against the boss. But ultimately, that kind of didn't matter, since the boss ended up getting stuck on a bit of rock as well, but after 5 minutes we ended up killing him. And here's the last level of the current build, where I got stuck under the floor after killing the boss, so I couldn't even get to open the golden chest. But since the loot is crap and my inventory was full, I guess it kind of didn't matter. I am glad that I caught all this on video, and in case the haters come and try to remind me that, excuse me, this game is still in early access, here's a message for you. I know that it's in early access, and I know that it's been in early access since April of last year, but basic stuff like this, after such a long time, is just unacceptable. It makes me wonder what the developers have been working on. Oh, I know. The naughty bits. But guys, to get the lingerie, you need to farm crystals, and to farm crystals, you actually have to play the game. Hopefully the footage that I've selected for this next section won't get me in trouble, but let's talk about the naughty side of She Will Punish Them. So there are 3 places where you can buy lingerie. There's the wardrobe in your castle. Next to the wardrobe is like a little exclusive lingerie purchase area, which has 3 outfits. And finally, there's the Nordstrom Rack luxury department store. You can equip lingerie on the equipment screen, but to have it show up in the game world, you need to select the option for underwear only. You can also unequip all of the lingerie and run around doing dungeons naked with all your bits and bobs hanging out. Don't worry, your armor is still equipped, this is just cosmetic. Once you have your succubus outfitted with whatever you like, you can have her interact with several of the castle's objects for posing, such as the bed, the chair, the couch. Multiple poses and camera angles are available depending on the object. You can unlock the shower and bathroom, which have their own objects pre-installed that you can interact with as well. Honestly, the posing is a bit creepy because the woman's eyes follow the camera and stare at you as if she's judging you, just like Jesus is. The other rooms that you can unlock are the main hall, small room, and dungeon. These are all blank slates, so you can purchase and place furniture however way you want, but the entire process is tedious. You have to press escape to go to the pause screen, then click on furniture, then click on the category of furniture that you want, then buy the piece of furniture, and then place it. And the placing is done at the same camera angle as the rest of the game. You know, it would make sense if it were grid-based and top-down. God knows why they decided to do it this way. Once you've placed one piece of furniture, you have to redo the whole process to place another. You know, escape, furniture, piece of furniture, place it, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Buying one piece of furniture doesn't unlock it permanently. Lingerie, it does. You buy one piece of lingerie, anyone can wear it. Although, I would hope they wash it. But that's besides the point. But if you buy one lamp and you want to place that same lamp again, you have to buy it again. And the purpose of the furniture is to get more poses for you to see, which is clearly what the developers have been focused on. But even these bug out too. Finally, there's the free pose mechanic, which is even more tedious than furniture placement. Again, you hit escape to go to the pause screen and then click on free pose. Here you can summon all 3 of your girls and spend a ridiculous amount of time arranging them however way you want in whichever room you want, and what's the purpose? As soon as you press escape, all of it disappears. What's the purpose? A screenshot to upload to Steam. I don't know. So yeah, She Will Punish Them it's kind of a mess. I do admit I did enjoy the first hour or so. The combat was simple, but solid and challenging at first. It was fun getting new items and unlocking your other companion, but then you realize that all of the loot sucks, and the only way to get good loot is from the shopkeepers. Gold experience and loot don't scale properly, and the best strategy to winning is just put points into agility, equip mace weapons, and spam left click. To the developers' credit, they do release updates frequently, and I would suggest that they focus more on the combat mechanics instead of the sexual content. And I do have to say that I did enjoy my time with this game more than some other action RPGs that I've beaten and reviewed in this channel in the past, such as Greed Black Border and Realms of Ancient War. And unlike those broken, terrible pieces of garbage, this one is still in development and can one day possibly become a decent action RPG. I don't know. It might, or it might not. Either way, it's kind of broken, but kind of fun just because of how broken it is. But not something I would recommend. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Private Hudson. I'm signing out.